Hey everybody, I'm going to go do a walkthrough of this design deck for y'all. Um, we'll start with the entrance to the whole experience is just a big giant compass, and you walk through that keyhole part into where all the holes happen. So that will be a fairly large, sort of impressive thing right from the street. You'll be able to see as you go in. The layout is basically a big circle. Um, you'll see you'll come through this entrance into a central courtyard, which is where I'll show you on a later slide what this looks like. But it's basically where the ticketing and the merchandise and some food and beverage could be. Once you buy your ticket, you'll go into the attractions through here on the left. There is 6 universes that I'll show you. That basically do different styles of sculptural and artistic sort of disciplines. The first one is Sketch Universe. There's 3 holes or 3 experiences in there. You'll go through a portal, which will take you a sort of a gateway that'll take you to the next one. It's City Walk, 3 holes there. Go through a gate, 3 holes at the sort of fantasy area, through a gate into the medieval sort of area, through a gate to steampunk, found object sort of area, through another gate into a guest artist area where a rotating, guest artist can, sort of will give some blank spaces they can create experiences there, and that can be sort of revolving thing yearly or however you would want to do that. Then you would exit back out into the courtyard where you can get food and beverage and that sort of thing. These spots right here are sort of where you can look and see what's happening in each portal. So if you're just sort of just being a spectator, or you're done and you want to see what's happening, you can kind of get a glimpse into each one of these. We kind of see this as an outdoor experience, but with some dividers that sort of give you some discovery as you go through. So the size of this really depends on the layout of the holes, and as we move forward, we'll work with Harris, or the designer of the concrete actually holes, and that will sort of set the pace for how big this is. So this is kind of a view, like if you're coming in through the main thing, you'll see this, this sort of the courtyard area, a little bit of, gives you a little bit of a couple ideas of what we might do. This is also in the courtyard, like this area right here is where you would go into the first experience, and then start on the outer loop. This right here would be the portal that you came through to get into the central courtyard. This is an idea of the central sort of thing in the middle of that courtyard, where the ticket booth, the merchandise, and the food and beverage are. It's sort of a giant kinetic sculpture right in the middle of everything. The first universe is the sketched universe, which there'll be 3 experiences in here. I'll call them experiences, or we can just sort of call them each hole that you would play mini golf on, or a version of that. This just sort of looks like everything is sketched. It's black and white, and it looks like somebody drew it, but it's in 3 dimensions. This is an example of like a water feature, that this would be water coming out of this fire hydrant, but you actually put your ball into that and it would go down through the water or come out this way. It really just depends on how we design that hole. Takes it out of the experience of a normal putt in. You'd either put it in this pipe, or maybe you do putt it. We could determine different ways of using your ball instead of just the putter. This is another one where you don't use a putter. You put your ball on this tilt table and you kind of maneuver it. Everybody tilts the table, and you can sort of direct your ball to the end, or it falls in one of these different holes for different points or just a different skill level. And then this is one of the portals, like the gates in between each one. This one's sort of you pull a chain, it looks like a flattened Coke can, a really giant Coke can. You pull the chain and go through it. Then you're in the city walk, which is basically just like an abstract city, a lot of architectural stuff. You can putt and play on the sidewalk. There's some other different areas where you would just like a slot machines where you'd put your ball in things and maybe not use the putter, and some places you would. That's what we would later determine once we move forward. Another little area in City Walk where you would sort of play up into a bus or a garbage truck or something, and you play inside and interact, and then it comes out the front of your ball comes out the front of that bus and onto the rest of the playing area. Again, this one could be used with the putter, could be used without the putter. Um, this portal is going into sort of the Fey Bell, sort of fables, fantasy sort of themed area. This one, has a lot more organic sort of things, mushrooms and oversized, objects. So you end up when you come in here, you end up becoming very small. So everything's kind of oversized. We can put like this. There's a giant snail right here. This could be all metal found objects with a sculpted snail, and you play inside and around this. A lot of opportunities for interaction and interacting with these sculptures in different ways. Then the portal to get into the medieval sort of area, you'd put like a sword, kind of like a escape game, and turn this crank, which would open it to allow you through. These gates kind of give you a breakup between each sort of world or universe, and it lets you sort of divide people, and so people discover things without being able to see the whole course. This is sort of what would be the basis of the medieval part. Is sort of like a kind of a facaded street sort of setting, medieval street. Again, there'll be 3 experiences in here, and we can do different things with the ball. Some you might putt, some you might roll or put them in a slingshot. You never know. We could come up with all sorts of ways to do that. This is one of the holes that we did think of where you're putting across this sort of lava and broken sort of pavement area where this dragon is blowing smoke into it, and you got to sort of putt through it. There's a couple different levels your ball can go. Just sort of a different spin on a hazard in mini golf. This is the portal to the steampunk, which this one leans real heavy on found objects, a lot of welded and sort of that sort of mechanical, futuristic sort of feel. This is a motorcycle, like the motorcycle sort of sculpture that you could interact with, go through. We'll find different ways to utilize that, or whatever sort of comes of that sort of fabrication. Again, another steampunk where you're going into this giant machine, and maybe you put your ball in different places and it moves around and comes out the other side. Again, there's a ball elevator where you're putting your ball in this elevator and it's going through this sort of Rube Goldberg sort of thing, and you can kind of set the pipes to make it go where you want. Very interactive, and again takes the putter out of your hand. A big geared metal mushroom, again using that sort of found object, street art sort of look, which will reflect really good on the Enchanted Highway sculptures. This is another sort of like an air hockey, and it moves it through and sucks the ball through. Just another kind of just interesting ideas that we can build upon as we move forward. The 18th hole is you put your ball into this sort of gun which shoots it out of there into this sort of caged in area, and there's a bunch of symbols and stuff to make noise in there, so your ball ricochets around inside this thing and makes all sorts of noises, and then it takes the ball, and that's the end of your experience. The other section in here is the artist in residence, sort of guest artist space, which would be 3 holes that basically we would set some basic parameters, and then they could create based on those parameters. If there's a putting spot, they would build stuff around it using the measurements that we would have there all the time. So these are a couple characters that you could put in and around the whole park. Very found object, steampunk, futuristic sort of feel to them.